afternoon, everybody. My name is Isaac David Signs, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Pro Football Chase YouTube channel. Now, for today's episode, it is Stardom Situm for Week 5. I put these out every Wednesday to kind of help you out to maybe if you have a tough decision on your lineup, you're trying to decide who you want to start, who do you want to put on your bench. I hope I can help you sort through some things. I understand I play fantasy football. It gets a little stressful. You want to win. So I got you covered here on the Pro Football Chase YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started for you. So for quarterbacks here in Week 5, here's a couple that I'm telling you to start if they're on your roster. First one being Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's coming off another strong performance against the Houston Texans on Sunday. Threw for over 400 yards. Now, I understand there could be some hesitation considering that T.Y. Hilton may not be cleared to play on Thursday. However, it doesn't change the fact that Luck is going up against a weak Patriots secondary. I know they're coming off a blowout victory over the Miami Dolphins. However, Andrew Luck is flinging it well. Eric Ebron is still there. Hopefully they can get Jack Doyle. Chester Rogers is another receiver that has really emerged. So I think you have to start him just because of the upside that he offers your lineup here in Week 5. Number 2, how about Big Ben? I know Ben Roethlisberger struggled on Sunday night against Baltimore, but keep in mind that this Ravens defense is number 2 in total yards allowed behind the Jaguars. So this is a very good unit that he went up against. It's hard to roll with him considering how out of sync he looked on Sunday night. However, you have to remember that Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, they still preside on that offense, and going up against a banged-up Falcons secondary that is giving up massive yards to opposing quarterbacks, it's too intriguing of a matchup to not put him in your starting lineup. And quarterback number 3, how about Matthew Stafford against the Green Bay Packers? This matchup is more than likely going to be a high-scoring affair. Matthew Stafford put together a nice stat line against a pretty good Dallas secondary on Sunday. Green Bay's defense is much improved, so I have to give them credit for that. However, that trio, Golden Tate, Kenny Golladay, and Marvin Jones, those three, along with the emerging Kerryon Johnson, should provide this Lions offense with a well-balanced attack. Therefore, go with Matthew Stafford in what should be a high-scoring game. Now to running backs, stardom. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey. They're coming off a bye week. He's well-rested. They're going up against a Giants defense that looked pretty stout against a high-powered Saints offense on Sunday. However, McCaffrey, he continues to play very well each week. They're getting him more involved in the inside zone run game as well. He's a threat in the pass game, so make sure he's in your lineup. How about Joe Mixon? Now, I'm not so sure if he's going to be cleared to play this weekend. However, should he get the green light, go ahead and start him against Miami. They're coming off a pretty bad performance. They're dealing with a lot of injuries on that defensive line. Or if Mixon can't go, plug in Giovanni Bernard. And then how about Kerryon Johnson against Green Bay? I just mentioned him right now with Matthew Stafford. I know he kind of had a little bit of a letdown on Sunday. However, he will still lead that backfield going up against Green Bay. You got to roll with the rookie. He'll have a bounce-back performance. Now, receivers to consider. How about Calvin Ridley? He's on a hot streak. How can you leave him on your bench at this point if you have him on your team? He should have plenty of success going up against a very depleted Steelers secondary. John Brown at Cleveland. The Browns, they just were engaged in a shootout with the Oakland Raiders. John Brown continues to become one of Joe Flacco's top targets on the outside. And then one more for you. How about Devin Funchess against the New York Giants? Now, Eli Apple may be coming back into that starting lineup. However, there are matchups to be had, especially in the red zone. Funchess is starting to pick things up a little bit with Cam Newton. He's one name that you may want to put in your starting lineup here in Week 5. Now, tight ends. A couple of them to put in your lineup. How about David Njoku against Baltimore? Now, I know this kind of doesn't sound like a good idea considering how good Baltimore's defense is, but I feel like with Jimmy Smith coming back, they're really going to put a concerted focus on limiting Jarvis Landry on the outside, You know Baker Mayfield is always looking for David Njoku, especially tight ends over the middle. And in this game where I feel Mayfield's going to struggle to throw the ball down the field, look for Njoku to be the beneficiary of that, hauling in plenty of targets, and maybe he can get in the end zone if they can get close enough to the red zone. So he's kind of a sneaky start. He's, I guess, high risk, high reward for you. And then George Kittle against the Arizona Cardinals. Kittle, I know CJ Beathard's there. No more Jimmy Garoppolo, but Kittle continues to play very good football. He's a reliable catcher. He should be able to produce for you some. And lastly, for stardom, a couple of defenses to consider. The Tennessee Titans, they go on the road to play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. This is a stout Titans defense that yet again flexed their muscles on Sunday against Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. They're generating a nice pass rush. Brian Orakpo, Harold Landry. So that's a unit that's a sneaky play, and I feel like they're going to be able to limit Buffalo's offense on Sunday. And then this one's another sleeper. The New York Jets against the Denver Broncos. They're hosting them on their home turf in New York. I know the Jets, they gave up 31 points to Blake Bortles and the Jaguars in Week 4. However, they still have a lot of playmakers. Jamal Adams, Leonard Williams, Tremaine Johnson. I gotta like their chances to put together a nice performance, especially going up against the Broncos offense under Case Keenum that has been stagnant at times. Now let's go to a couple of sit-ems before I get out of this episode. One of them being Marcus Mariota. He had a really impressive game against a tough Philly defensive front. However, going on the road to Buffalo, you got to give them some credit. That defense that the Bills have under Sean McDermott, they know how to limit opposing signal callers. Be careful with Marcus Mariota. I feel like he could have some bust potential this weekend. Obviously, Case Keenum against New York, I wouldn't trust him in your lineup. How about Russell Wilson going up against the Rams? This is one where I'm not too concerned about what the Rams have at corner. You know, Peters is playing. He's probably still not 100%. And then Aqib Talib, as we know, is on IR. But it's that Rams defensive front that I feel will impact Russell Wilson throughout the entirety of that game. So be careful with him. Running backs to sit. Kareem Hunt against Jacksonville. I know Hunt is put up the strongest performance on Monday night against Denver. However, this is a different animal that the Jacksonville Jaguars, they present. They have a stacked defensive line. I really feel like they're going to look to take away that rushing attack. So he may be a guy I avoid if I have another better option who has a nicer matchup this coming weekend. How about Carlos Hyde against Baltimore? He's been a nice, efficient runner for Cleveland. Nick Chubb actually had over 100 yards on Sunday against Oakland. But this Baltimore Ravens defensive front, they're strong. Brandon Williams is a fantastic run stuffer. I wouldn't risk rolling with Carlos Hyde. Some receivers to leave on your bench. Emmanuel Sanders against the Jets. Now I'm assuming that Sanders is going to either draw Tremaine Johnson, Buster Skrine, or Morris Claiborne. Right now, he's got obviously the skill to do some damage through the air, but Case Keenum right now just isn't seeing the field very well, and he's been very inconsistent with his accuracy. How about Alshon Jeffrey against Minnesota? I know this Vikings defense has been torched the last couple weeks, but they still do have a very formidable secondary. Xavier Rhodes, Harrison Smith. Now, Trey Waynes, I'm not sure what his availability is going to be like this weekend. However, Alshon Jeffrey, he came back, had a nice game with Carson Wentz, but I would be very cautious with Jeffrey and his potential upside that he would bring. And then tight ends to keep on the bench. Kyle Rudolph against Philadelphia. This is a Eagles defense that has a lot of athletic linebackers there. Jordan Hicks, I think they're going to do a nice job of limiting what Kyle Rudolph can do over the middle. And then Austin Hooper against Pitt. I know this Pitt's defense has been really bad, but Hooper has been very shaky from week to week. You never know how involved he's going to be in that passing attack. And then one more for you. Travis Kelce against Jacksonville kind of concerns me, believe it or not. It's hard to leave him on the bench, but he's another one again. Jacksonville, they shut down Rob Gronkowski. They double-teamed him with Telvin Smith and Deshaun Gibson and Barry Church and put Ramsey. They just have a lot of different players and looks they can give Kelce in that Chiefs offense, and that concerns me a bit. And a couple defenses to leave on your bench. Obviously, the Lions going up against Aaron Rodgers. And as crazy as it sounds, you want to leave that Panthers defense on your bench. I know this Giants offense under Eli Manning has just been very underwhelming, but you always have to be a little worried about that firepower they have with Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham Jr., and if they just tend to catch here and there, you wouldn't want to run the risk of rolling out a defense with high expectations and then them not performing out for you to your standards and what you were looking for. So there you have it. There's some stardom sit-em for you here for week 5. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be posting another video on Saturday. So direct message me any fantasy football questions you may have for this weekend's action. I will answer them on Saturday's video. Again, thanks for your time and have a blessed evening.